Good morning. This morning I have something a little different to look at. A friend of mine is having a problem with her electric powered skateboard, and she asked me to take a look at it. So we're going to open the thing up and just take a look. One motor is not working right now, and it may be something very simple. Could also be something a little more serious. We won't know until we get it opened up. So we're going to get it on the bench, open it up, do some testing, see what we can find out. This is the skateboard right here, and I don't know much about skateboards, but this is a fairly long board. There's the battery pack at that side, and this drives just from one end. So I take it there's probably some driver electronics in here, and I think the motors are in the hubs of these wheels, and one hub is not working. It has a remote that she can hold in her hand when she's boarding and control the speed and even the gears. So we're going to have to probably open up the hubs and just see if there's a connection problem or some kind of a mechanical problem. So that's what we're going to do right now. So I'm told the way this thing works is, first of all, we have to turn on the power by holding that in, and I believe it's supposed to turn red solid when it's operational. Maybe I didn't hold it in long enough. That turned it off again. I'll hold it in a little longer, just see what happens there. Maybe the battery is, no, that's not, doesn't look right to me. Now it's flashing quickly. So maybe I put it into some sort of a different mode. Okay, I'll just try it with it flashing there. Then I'm going to push the button on the remote. There we go. Oh, okay, that works. Now we've got the light on the receiver, and we've got information on the display there. You're probably seeing that in reverse just because of the way I've got my phone set up here. Anyways, it shows that the battery is fully charged, and then I think you just push the button to change settings on this. Every time I do that, it kind of vibrates in your hand. And then we've got our, oh, there we go. Okay, so here's where the problem is. We're adjusting the speed of the motor, and it's only turning the one motor. So this motor here obviously is not working. So I'm going to do some inspecting, open it up and just see if I can see anything obvious. So the screws on the cover here are Torx T25 Torx screws. They weren't very tight, which I wonder if it's just from use. But it does have a seal between the plastic cover and the bottom of the board, so I imagine it's fine, but typically you would want them to be a little snugger than they were there. Okay, so there, aha! This could be something very simple by the looks of it, because it looks to me like we've got a connector that's just come disconnected here. Which is kind of the, there, wrong way around. Connector doesn't seem to want to go together. Gonna have to look at that a little more closely. See if we got a problem. So when I opened it up, it was immediately obvious that this connector was just hanging loose, and it wasn't plugged into this connector, which I don't know how that came disconnected. Maybe somehow this cable was caught on something and pulled out. But on closer examination, it also looks like these connectors have been maybe not making good contact for a while, and I suspect they do draw a fair amount of current. So there's some burnt, some carbon in there from where the contacts seem to have been arcing. I don't want to put it together without at least trying to clean that up a little bit, otherwise could have problems. Plus it wasn't plugging together quite right, and I didn't want to force it. I'm not sure what you call this particular kind of connector, but it looks like it's made to take a fair amount of current. I do have some spray that might do a little bit towards cleaning up those contacts, but you got to be careful with some of these sprays too, because I've got a type of spray that I use on my RV trailer connectors, and it actually works very well, but that contact cleaner spray is can be hard on certain plastics, and it's not only annoying but kind of embarrassing when you go to fix a connector by spraying it, and you spray the plastic and the plastic just kind of crumbles. It's happened to me before, not recently, but so I try and be a little cautious about that. The more electronic rather than electrically oriented sprays are tend to be a little bit more benign on plastic, because they're built for that. Anyways, it seems like the carbon that's kind of in here is coming out. I think I will risk spraying a little bit of spray in there. I reconsidered and decided that I would try the more benign spray here. This is neutral. It's more for controls like pots and so on, and switches, and it's the more benign stuff. You can pretty much trust it on this type of connector. Okay, just want to make sure there we go, it popped together pretty nicely now. Just got to clean up a little bit of that. There's this control cleaner is it's got some lubricant as well as some cleaning agents in it, so it leaves a little bit of a residue around, but that won't hurt anything in this case. I think I'll just blow out this enclosure. There's a little bit of dust in there, which might be as a result of that seal not being real tight, and the screws being real tight. There is signs that there's been some dirt leaking in spots here. There appears to be some sort of a little sensor on the side of this thing. I wonder if that's a temperature sensor of some sort. Anyways, that connector popped together pretty good, and it seems secure, so I don't know why that would have come apart before. Okay, I'm just going to try and make sure I put this back together in a way that there, I'm going to try that before I that's interesting. There we go. That light came on just for a second. Okay, now it's flashing. Now I'm going to push this one. Okay, it's starting up. Okay, there we go. Just the way it should be, I think. Well, that was pretty easy. I guess I'll put the screws back in and call that done. So I don't consider myself some kind of a wise old sage when it comes to fixing things. Sometimes I say that if I didn't break so many things, I'd have a whole lot fewer things to fix. And there's some truth to that, because you know, experimenting things and trying new stuff, you're always going to make some mistakes and you're going to break some stuff, and things are going to be, you know, things are going to come up where you have to do more work than needed to be done. Plus, when you do fixing on stuff that you've never seen before, it's always a learning experience. And I guess one thing I have learned is to be cautious when you're doing that. Be careful about taking things apart. You know, keep a container to keep the screws in one place, because I can't even tell you how many hours I may have spent crawling around under my bench trying to find the screw that I dropped because I just left it sitting on the edge of the bench. So there's just little tricks to that that are helpful, and they're just common sense. It doesn't come from necessarily doing it a long time even. If you're a methodical person and you're careful, you're going to be able to do that a lot quicker, a lot sooner. And sometimes these jobs are easy, like this one, where it was just a simple matter of taking it apart and doing an inspection. But that's another important part of this, is that learning something about it, looking at it without touching it, observing, inspecting, testing to see what's actually going on are pretty important. I know early in my career I found that working on, for instance, musical instrument amplifiers and stuff, it was easy to think, oh, there's going to be a problem here inside, so I'm going to take all the screws out and take all the knobs off, take it all apart, and then I'm going to, you know, then I'll test it out and see what's going on. All too often I would do that, and once I got it all apart, I realized there was no problem with it at all, or it was something that had nothing to do with the internals. And so with that kind of equipment, you know, there's a lot of busy work just taking it apart and putting it back together. And it seems foolish, but it's easy to get into that mentality sometimes. So this is a fairly easy and nice one. I'm going to call my friend and tell her that her board's ready to go, and we can start on something else. Thanks for tuning in.